Welcome back. I hope you're having a good Friday morning. Still to come this morning. Now then, do you think in feet or centimetres? Do you weigh yourself in pounds or kilograms? And would you understand if someone told you the speed limit was 113 kilometres per hour? I wouldn't. Now, a report this week has called for Britain to make all our road signs metric, and here to tell us what they think are Derek Pollard, who supports going totally metric, and Tony Bennett, who hates the whole idea. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning. So we're going to have a fight on our hands this morning, because it's a definite for and against here. This is all kind of, I gather, in the run-up to the Olympics. There are people saying that all our road signs, by the time we hold the Olympics here, should be converted to metric. Am I right? That's the thinking behind this.
If you wish to give the impression that Britain is a modern country, part of the modern world, then let's adopt the same measuring system as the rest of the world. The imperial system is a throwback to empire a century ago. And is this the impression that we want to give visitors to Britain?
But in Atlanta in 1996, when the Olympics went to America, which is a very modern country, it didn't have any effect whatsoever. People didn't come away saying, "My, look, you know, they still have miles over there. They must be so backward."
As far as I know, there's been no surveys of what impressions athletes took back from Atlanta of the American system of weights and measures, but nearly all the athletes who come to games are coming from metric countries, and the games themselves are metrics. So
aren't we perfectly capable? I mean, I've got two young daughters, and they are at school, obviously working in kilometres and metres and in kilograms and grams. I don't, but we are perfectly capable within our family of speaking two languages. When there is part of our family discusses, you know, miles and kilometres, and the others, you know, do the grams and the ounces.
But for many people aren't bilingual in systems, and this is a difficulty, and wherever the two systems come together, if you're running two systems in parallel, wherever they meet, you can have problems.
But you're fighting a losing battle, and I would say right now there is nothing, I think, on this programme that causes the greatest amount of anger and emails from both sides of the argument. If we do cookery here and we talk about grams, then the ounce brigade go crazy. If we do it the other way around, we get an equal amount of emails from the other side. There's very little causes the amount of trouble that this one does. But I would have said, aren't you on a hiding for nothing? Because the Department of Transport said to the Times, we think there are better things to spend taxpayers' money on, bearing in mind that we think it's going to cost about 80 million quid. We don't think there are any demonstrable benefits for making the change. Frankly, we've got better things to do with taxpayers' money.
It's a lot of money if that's the case.
But where did they get this figure from? We asked them for information on what it was going to cost when we prepared our report, and they said we have no information. So we had to go back to figures they had from 1989 and work out our own cost estimates from that, based on the cost of the Irish changeover a year ago. And we came up with a figure that was a tenth the figure of the Department for Transport. Now, suddenly overnight they have information about a project they weren't thinking about, and they have a figure of 700 million.
But Tony, this is something that's making you very angry, isn't it? Is the amount of money it would cost to change over, and you're saying, why do we need to? There's nothing wrong with the system we've got.
Well, indeed, the Olympic thing is just a very poor justification for something they've been trying to run for years. But the cost, of course, is estimated by the Department of Transport to be £800 million, which is 10 times this gentleman's estimate. We've estimated it at £1 billion, £800 million, yeah. It would be a vast exercise, wouldn't it? There are roughly 1.5 million to 2 million road signs in this country. Every single one, speed limit, the distance, the heights, all changed. And then, of course, you'd have to do the footpath signs as well, wouldn't you? All those countryside little footpaths.
But why are you so against it? You know, people would say, well, look, we're part of Europe now. This is what our children are learning at school. Are we not just old dinosaurs that won't change? Well, and you know, we need to move with the times.
Well, you say part of Europe. Fascinating point. When the UK Metric Association last tried to float their ideas, the European Commissioner responsible, Gunther Verheugen, said on the record, look, this is nothing to do with Europe, the single market. He said, as far as I'm concerned, I like the mile and the pint. This is one of the European commissioners. So if they're happy with it, what's wrong with it? And
but there's only America, United States, Liberia and Burma hang on to the old system.
Well, I'd say good for Liberia and Burma, but you know, the United States and the United Kingdom are two of the world's leading countries. And I noticed in a survey last week that Britain was voted by 26,000 people across the world the most popular country in the world.
Could I just ask a question, if it doesn't sound too simple? Could you not have both? You know, could you not have road signs that have kilometres and...
We have got both.
Know...
What's the matter with the way it's working now? See, I hate people telling me what I'm supposed to do. And I hate being pushed in, oh no, you can't have that anymore, you've got to go another... This is working perfectly well. What's up with it now?
If you run the two systems in parallel, wherever they come together, you have a problem. For example, the manual of your car tells you its width in metres. You come to a width restriction and it tells you in feet and inches. How do you know your car's going to get
But
through?
I haven't crashed it because of that. Not many people have either. Doesn't seem to cause that many... Do you have a list of accidents and fatalities that have been caused by a confusion between metres and
No,
feet?
I haven't. Dare I mention EastEnders on the show? There's Dot doing her driving lessons, and she comes out with "I drive in Imperial and stop in Metric."
But it's not good for the argument if you've got to quote soaps, though, is it?
I'm sure that's a common problem with people. They're driving along and the sign says stop in 150 yards. They look at their highway code from which they're learning how to drive, and it gives them stopping distances in metres.
So do you think we're going to continue with this old-fashioned, outdated system? We're going to lag behind everybody else?
Well, on the road signs, you've got the issue of the cost of the changeover, and the fact, of course, that everybody who passes their test at the age of 17 or whenever is familiar with the distances and the speed limits already. You've got one system in place all the moment. This gentleman's referring to confusion. What is the point of introducing confusion when we've got a perfectly good system? Incidentally, 98% of people understand metric dimensions and distances. Only 29%, despite all the metric education we've had, understanding of...
Well, I mean, it's fascinating because obviously it started being taught in schools in 1973. I sort of missed out on that one, but we did a survey in the office yesterday asking people that were 25 and below, sort of brought up being educated in the metric system, if they used mostly imperial or metric measurements, and the results suggested that imperial measurements are used far more often than the metric, even though they weren't taught metric at school. So there we go. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Thank you very much indeed, gentlemen. Thanks for coming in.